Welcome back to Glass Making with Doug. A couple things today. We're going to show you two projects. One is a repair and reconfiguration of a garden flower. Another is my fifth solar fountain. So this plate combination was a wall-mounted flower that I did. Unfortunately, during a winter storm, it came down from its hook on the wall and the glass ball that was in the center broke off, and I've got to make some repairs and kind of change things around. For your information in what I've done for these, and I may change this up in the future, I drilled a hole through the green glass piece and the bowl and was able to bolt through those, fasten a hook on the back, and use it to hang with. However, I've since learned that hanging a hook on the back doesn't necessarily mean it's going to hang flat against the wall. You kind of need a different configuration for that. So I don't think I'm going to make this one hang on the wall. It'll probably end up going on a stake in the ground. Okay, so what do we have to do? Well, we have to clean this up. And what I think I'm going to do is to add to it, I have this piece. Obvious, if you've looked at ceiling fans, you would recognize this as a piece from a lighting fixture on a ceiling fan. I think they would be perfect for the center of a flower. This particular one doesn't have a whole lot of color. And then I don't have anything good at the moment. I've seen a lot of videos about people who make their own pistils and that sort of thing. I don't really have that. But I think I'm going to color up this marble with my alcohol inks and have it in the center, unless I can come up with something else I have that's more colorful. So that's the plan there, is to clean all of that up and get it ready to have this added to it. And if I can find anything else to put in the center or something else to add more bling, as some of you have said. So that's one project. The other project involves I don't know if this is going to show, a very large yellow-green vase that I got at Goodwill, but I think they must have gotten it from one of the design stores. Let me give you an idea here a little bit better. And what it's going to do is be the base for another fountain. It's good and heavy, but it seems to me it's going to be a little tippy. So I've had a lot of possibilities here, a lot of options. I'm not really 100% sold on it, but let me tell you what I think I'm going to do. I have this bowl which has these gold swirls on it, which I think is kind of cool. I was thinking about putting it on the top, but it didn't really work for me that well. Instead, I think I'm going to take it and make it the base for the. Move this back a little so you have a better idea. This unit is tall. It should help me make a sturdy, non-tippy base. And onto that, eventually I want to put this punch bowl, which has sort of a greenish yellow tint to it. It's sort of a yellowish tint, right? It's clearly not crystal. But just putting that on, to me, didn't really do much. Often I put plates next. So I got this plate, which really is very cool. It has a gold line around the rim, which you only see when you look down on it, which means I don't feel like, I think it'd be wasted if I went upside down. So I was thinking, okay, maybe I can manage that on top of this. Now, since I'm stacking up all this glass that's not fastened, I'm going to be very careful. But the idea is to put that and then put the punch bowl on top of that. That may not be easy for you to see on the camera, but doing it this way might help show you what I'm talking about. putting that, and then the punch bowl on top, of course centering everything up so it's symmetrical and not tippy. I think that could work with this as the base. So that's the thinking. None of this has really been cleaned up, so we're going to take a little time to clean it up. I will point out one other thing about this big yellow piece. Whoops, I'm back. When you look closely at it, you see that it's been painted with a color glaze on it. Often that's what happens with a lot of vases and things that you buy. They're not true through and through color. But this, I might just leave it that way, or I might take some of my alcohol inks and maybe spot in some extra color. I think what I'm going to do is put fairy lights inside that. I've done that with solar lights before, so they look really cool when they're inside it. So I'm probably going to do that. Whether I add spots of color around it with the alcohol inks, I don't know. I may just let it weather and look the way it is. All right, we'll clean these pieces up and we'll be back with more video. Welcome back to our latest project, a 5th solar fountain that I'm going to do. I mentioned that I got this at a Goodwill thrift store nearby. Clearly it's had its amber yellow color added as sort of a paint or a glaze on the outside, because it's peeling off in different spots. In fact, when I was leaning against it, holding it to clean off the bottom and the sides, it peeled off onto me a little bit. So I think what I'm going to do is use some of my alcohol inks and just add some interest, a bit of a mottled color on there to see what I can do. And I'm probably going to speed this up at some point, but I wanted you to see what I'm going to try and do here. Just taking some of the color. Actually, if this is almost the same yellow, but that's okay. I don't need to have it. I've got yellow, orange, and gold. So we'll see what we can do to mix it up a little bit. Actually, some of which you can do, this is an awfully big piece, is just apply it directly. It dries pretty quickly. Okay, back to our rehab, if you will, on the flower. I've done a couple of things. I painted my marble with some alcohol inks, and because some of you think I should add a little more bling, I'm going to, before I put my flower in the center, I'm going to put some of these glass beads in there, surrounding it. So we'll just take a quick moment to put some of those in. I think we're good. I'm happy with that. We will later put a fastener on the back so I can use it on a stake, but we're good. So on to our other project of the solar fountain. Since this solar fountain involves a couple of pieces and a couple of steps, we can't glue it all together at once. So what I'm going to do is take my punch bowl, fasten that to this base plate, and then we're going to take the large jar I had, which is I put some alcohol ink on that to kind of change up the color a little bit. I'm waiting for that to dry, but I'll take that and fasten it to this base plate here, and then we'll add the solar lights and put the two pieces, will then be two pieces together again. Okay, so I've cleaned up my glass, and I'm going to find that matching edge. You can do this, you should do this with a dry fit, meaning just try to see how everything's going to match up and what surfaces touch each other so that you put the silicone where it will be most effective. Get a nice solid bead on there. I know my circles pretty much line up on this. Give it a press to make sure that you have a firm fit. You've gotten the bubbles out. Okay, these two need to dry. I'm gonna go check to see how dry my big jar is. I'm gonna have to give it a coating of this clear enamel just to help fix the colors on the outside of it, and then we're gonna have it matched up against this. When I put it on here, I've got a, this kind of has a spiral pattern, so you got to be careful that I get it centered. The other part of this that's tricky is it's not exactly a flat surface, so I'm gonna have to make sure it gets in all the nooks and crannies. Okay, I'm spinning this. Okay, we're back to see if we can finish up this project. Let me explain what I've done so far. I took this large jar, put some alcohol inks on it, got a little crazy with it. It's kind of a drippy look to it, and then I sprayed that with a clear gloss to fix that on there. I fastened it to another bowl I have to make sure that that had a sturdier base to it, and I'm going to now put some, let me move my turntable out of the way. I'm going to put some solar fairy lights into it, and if you've watched my previous videos, you know that can be a little tricky. A lot of you ask what the kind of solar lights I'm putting in there are. If you search on Amazon, there are any number of different choices depending on how long a string you want. Just search out solar fairy lights. They're a very delicate string, almost like grain of rice type bulbs on a very thin, I assume, copper wire. This might have been the trickiest part of all this. In putting the lights in, I decided that I really didn't want to see them just hang in one string, and of course it was a pretty good sized string. So to get them to sort of bundle up a bit, I'm going to, right now they're taped, but I'm going to anchor a couple of loops with the silicone back up here at the top, so that it's hanging a couple in a couple of strands. Let me show you. I've turned them on. Let me show you what I mean. I think it's taking up most of the inner part of it nicely now. So, of course, all of these strings have variable programming. I kind of like that if it can get it to stay this way. I like the one where it's kind of random blinking. But okay, time to finish off this project. What I've done is to take the jar that I have and put the solar lights inside it. I had to kind of loop them a couple of times so that it didn't just end up all piled at the bottom. So that's looking pretty good. We're going to take our bowl and saucer and put it on top. And for that, I'm going to have to put the camera up a little bit, and I'm actually getting on a step ladder here.